All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy United Cyberverse Universe Windblade. Yeah, I honestly thought that Deathsaurus was going to be the last figure that I got this year, but the Legacy United Wave 1 stuff has started to roll in a little bit earlier than expected. Windblade is the only one that I have so far because I ordered her on Amazon, whereas the other ones I ordered on Hasbro Pulse. So I've got a shipping notice that the other deluxes and the cores have shipped out. So I'll probably be taking a look at those next week. But yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it, since we've gotten a new version of Windblade. She was like really prominent for a while, like when they introduced her, and then they put her in, like RID 2015 and then Cyberverse, and then she just kind of has been a little bit MIA since then. But yeah, no, it's good to get a new version of her because she's really one of those characters that I feel like really hasn't gotten a good toy yet, or at least until this. The original one from Thrilling 30 was kind of a nightmare, and then the Titans Return one is like, it's okay looking, but it's a little bit chunkier than you'd like it to be, and it also is a headmaster, so if you don't like Windblade being a headmaster, then there's that. And then most of the Cyberverse toys and RID 2015 toys just kind of struggled from not having enough budget behind them and being a little bit cheap or not having enough paint. Like, I think that the RID mold was all right from what I see. I've never handled it, but from what I've seen, it looked all right. But it was hard to actually get a version of it that had decent paint that wasn't like, a weird Japanese exclusive or something like that. But yeah, no, this figure is pretty all right. I think that this is definitely the best Windblade figure that we've gotten so far, at least from what I've seen from the other ones. The only one I actually have is the Thrilling 30 version, but yeah, no, pretty cool figure. She does come with her sword, and this is one thing that I'm not crazy about with this figure, is that, like, I feel like one of the big iconic things of Windblade is having, the specific like blade that this just isn't. Like they've decided to make this kind of a plume of flames instead of her more traditional kind of like swept blade. Which I'm not crazy about. I kind of understand why they did it, but I don't know. I wouldn't have really gone with that decision myself. But yeah, in terms of storage for this, there are a couple options. The way you're supposed to store it, and this is why they've decided to make it a flame, is if you just widen the legs here a little bit, there's just a peg hole on either side of her feet, and then there's a little peg on either side of the sword. So you're supposed to kind of, get it in between the legs here and just peg it in like that, so that the sword actually becomes kind of like a blast effect, like flame shooting out the back, which is a neat idea, but I don't like that, that's not removable essentially without not having the sword there. So like I don't like the idea of having like a permanent blast effect sitting out of the back, but it's a neat idea. I'm just not crazy about it. And then the other way that you can store it too is that she does have a 3mm port just underneath here, like for flight stands, and that's what these are. So you can also just peg it underneath. It still sticks out the back a little bit, but not nearly as much. And again, if it was just like her more traditional blade, I think that would have been not as good as the flame sticking out of the back, but still kind of okay in terms of, flame storage. I just feel like they could have, gotten it so it sits further up and just had it sit completely underneath, but whatever. So the storage is not great, but I don't know. I can live with that. I just, kind of wish it was her more traditional Windblade blade. But yeah, in terms of other functions of the jet mode, you can rotate the little turbines here forward for the VTOL jet, which is cool. I do kind of wish they were a little bit bigger on the wings. They're a little bit small compared to previous versions. And I thought at first that the cockpit could open, and it is a separate piece, but it does not feel like it can open, and I don't care enough about that potential feature to try to break it because this is clear plastic. So I feel like, just looking at the hinge here, it doesn't really look like the thinner sections at the bottom have anywhere to go. So I'm pretty sure that's just clipped in and is not supposed to open. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here she is with Kingdom's Sideswipe. Here she is with the only previous version of Windblade that I have, the Thrilling 30 version. And Oh gosh, I really had forgotten how much of a mess this figure was until I just transformed it again for this video. This one is just a lot more fun to handle. And you can see Windblade has kind of transitioned from being that primarily black jet to a primarily red jet over the years. So this figure has a lot less black on it. But even some repaints of this figure to make it more accurate to the comic version had a lot more red as well. But yeah, you can see this is the sword I'd prefer that she has, and just looking at the two of them, they're pretty similar. Honestly, if this had 3mm ports like on the turbine, I'd probably just like use this this sword with her, and just not have the Thrilling 30 version have her sword, because if it sat underneath, it would be sticking out a little bit, but it wouldn't be like terrible. So I don't know. But yeah, I just would have preferred a more traditional Windblade blade, especially because like this is supposed to be Cyberverse universe Windblade, which had definitely had this blade. So I don't know why, like I understand for like the flame effect why they chose this sword, but yeah, I'm not crazy about the sword choice there. But yeah, also because this is Cyberverse universe Windblade. For another comparison, here she is with Legacy Evolution Shadow Striker. But yeah, to get onto transformation, obviously we'll just take the sword off. Honestly, the transformation scheme is kind of similar to the Thrilling 30 version, just it works a lot better. But yeah. First thing you want to do is just take the wings, and they kind of tab in a couple of places. So you kind of bend them up like this so you can untab them from the side here and just rotate them out like that. Take the arms underneath, and again, kind of similar to the Thrilling 30 version, her hands are just pegged into pegs in the bottom. Just untab those. We can put away the landing gear here. We can take the two little side fins and just fold them down, and then take this entire section with the legs and double hinge it down, sort of like Combiner Wars style. And then you take these two back panels on here, and they'll just fold onto the back to kind of fill in the legs, which is definitely appreciated. And then that allows you to kind of straighten these out a bit more. Then we can unpeg the legs, and then we can flip up the feet and flip back the tail fin there till it clicks in place to kind of be heel support there, just like that. And we can rotate her around at the waist. And then this whole section here, you actually want to split the cockpit down the middle like that to reveal her head. And then you have the clearance to flip this piece around like that. And then you take these sections and they double hinge into the rest of the fuselage and then fold back up to just kind of compress the nose cone. And then you can take the actual tip of the nose cone and just flip it up like that. And then that will just sit on her back as a backpack, which is, it's still a bit of a backpack, but, it could be worse. And then you can also click up her shoulder pads so they sit into place. And then if you want, the turbines are only painted on one side, so I'll usually flip them around so that the silver detailing is showing. And then you can kind of just adjust the wings as you like. And there we have Windblade in her robot mode. And yeah, I think she looks pretty good. Definitely looks like the Cyberverse version. Yeah, no, I mean, it just works well. I think that she's got a nice head sculpt there. She does still have it tabs in really securely, but she does still have the removable fan that you can take out and plug into her hand like that. I don't know how often she ever actually used that in media, but, might as well have made it an extra piece so it could do that, but I tend to just leave it in place. Then obviously we can give her sword here. She can hold it just fine like that. It looks pretty good, despite the fact that it's not, the blade that I would prefer. I think it still does look good. And then for storage, she just has 3mm ports on either side of her hips here, so you can just kind of sheath it by plugging in like that, and that works for me. And it's thin enough too that you can kind of have her arms down to the side, whereas with the previous Windblade, you could also peg it into her hip, but it was so thick in the sheath that one of her arms ended up sitting way out to the side like this. So I think that this works a lot better. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint. It gets a pretty decent range there. Her chin does tend to bump into her cuffs here a little bit, but otherwise it can rotate around. Her shoulders are on universal joints, which can rotate around like that and rotate out to the side. She's got a bicep swivel, a little under 90 degrees of bend at the elbow for whatever reason. She does have a wrist swivel, which is nice. I find that this one, for whatever reason, just always wants to stay a little bit bent that way, just in its resting, default position, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever. She's got a waist cut for transformation. Hips can go forward about that far, back about that far and out to the side. She's got a thigh swivel there on an internal mushroom joint, about 90 degrees of bend at the knee. And then the feet, they do have ankle tilt. They can tilt back, but the thruster heel piece always stays in place, so it doesn't, really help. And honestly, like, I kind of wish they couldn't tilt. I mean, obviously they have to tilt back a bit for transformation, but I sort of wish the heel couldn't tilt any further back, because that's one issue that I have with her, is that she's not the most stable figure in the world. Like, she's nothing compared to, the original Windblade, but the joints for her heels just tend to want to give a little bit, and the like fins here are really her main heel support, because the thrusters don't stick out too much, because she has all this stuff on the backpack here, is that she sometimes wants to like lean backwards, which is a little bit annoying. It's not, too difficult to get her to stand, but you can see it's just like, you just have to work with it a little bit. Again, like I said, nothing compared to the Thrilling 30 version, which was just a hot mess. This one can stand up just fine. It's just a little bit annoying. And then the wings, they can kind of tilt forward and back and then up and down here, so you can, adjust them to your liking. They have kind of like a soft locking spot at that point, so that's usually how I leave them. But yeah, to get onto comparisons in this mode, here she is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that standard size comparison. You can see pretty average size Deluxe there. Here she is again with Legacy Evolution Shadow Strikers, so you can see what they look like together. And then last and definitely least, here she is with the Thrilling 30 Windblade here, just so you can see some of the design updates. You can see they kind of just made her a more solid robot. This one was always very like spindly and had like the wings sticking out at a single point, and also just like the whole issue with the heels, it has a really hard time standing up. And you can see what I'm saying here with the arm having to stick out to the side a little bit when the sword is sheathed there. But yeah, if you want to give her this sword, she can hold it. She does have like the 3/4 split, and this is like a, like a thin, it's not a full peg, so it's not like the most secure thing in the world, but you can get it there sitting like straight up and down. It's just, if you rotate a little bit, it just kind of comes right out. But yeah, I think that this one is far superior to the Thrilling 30 version. It's definitely nice to get a new proper Windblade figure on my shelf. Like, it's not amazing. It's just kind of an okay figure, but it's decent. And that's, really all Windblade needed at this point, which is a decent figure. I'm also not crazy about the fact that, like, you can see the mushroom pegs of the rotors on this side, but I don't really see how that could have been avoided, so I'm kind of okay with it. But yeah, no, pretty decent figure overall. Smooth transformation that's kind of, intuitive and easy. The weapon is decent. I just wish it had the different blade, and I wish it stored a little bit better in jet mode. The jet mode looks fine. It's nothing like amazing, but it looks fine, and the articulation is decent. It's all around just kind of a nice average figure, which is, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to her. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday normally. I am going to be taking the next two upload days off, Sunday and Tuesday, just because they're kind of sitting around Christmas and I'm going to be away for the holidays, so I won't really have time to record any more videos. And also my order of the next Legacy United stuff has not come in yet, so it would just kind of be a filler review anyway. So I'll just give myself a little bit of a leeway, give myself a little bit of a break, and I'll be back I guess a week from today for next Thursday's video, which hopefully should be another one of the Legacy United figures. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I almost said I get like in the zone of just like saying my my outro, so it's like when I have some irregular thing, I almost say it over entirely for a second time. But yeah, without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy United Cyberverse Universe Windblade.